This game is terrible. The idea of Sonic in a multiplayer setting is a baffling one. I feel like in order to pull it off, something was going to have to be left on the cutting room floor. A good Sonic game will give you this sense of speed, but you can't really achieve that when you have to deal with 3 other players. The classic games have this feature where if you plug in a controller to the second slot, another person can join. But anyone who's done that can tell you how frustrating it is. The second player is always trying to keep up. It feels like they have to stay one step ahead of Sonic just for the chance of staying on screen. Which is weird because this isn't a competitive game. Despite my complaining, I actually do think this is a neat feature. The thing that makes it work, in my opinion, was that it wasn't a selling point. Just a cool little Easter egg you could discover if you were willing to experiment. Sonic the Hedgehog is still a single-player experience at the end of the day, which means its levels, bosses, and challenges are tailor-made to a single person to run through. The multiplayer is just that, a bonus. It would be really stupid if a Sonic game decided to design around the multiplayer elements. Oh. Right away you can see the problem here. People who play this game solo aren't going to be able to experience the same level of speed now that the levels aren't designed with that in mind. People who play this game with their friends still have to deal with the problems mentioned above because this is a Sonic game. On top of that, this game just had some of the worst luck to boot. It released 3 days before Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which trounces on this game in every way. More characters, more unique abilities, it just showed up to the dance looking better. That isn't Sonic's fault, but there was really no way that this game was ever going to compare. I almost feel bad for comparing the two if it weren't for the fact that they retail for the same price, and it's Sonic and Mario. I wanted nothing more than this to be a tough choice, but the answer has never been more obvious. Despite that, however, this game starts off really strong. The opening animation and title screen are beautiful. I mean, not like that, but I'm done comparing. The first level really isn't all that bad either. It feels like classic Sonic. Controls are a little stiff, but other than that, it's classic Sonic through and through. Problems arise when you get to the second world. Right away, you'll notice these vines that act as rails that Sonic rides on, and here's our first problem. It's an automated gimmick that doesn't really require much input from the player. The problem with this game as a whole is that it never really steers away from these gimmicks. These vine rails give you a sense of speed, but it's automated, and it really feels unearned. It doesn't feel like a reward for skillful play, it just feels like controllers ripped out of my hands. Pinball Carnival has a section where you're on a roller coaster the entire time, and you only get to jump off to the higher platform when the game tells you to. There is this section in the cyber world where you turn into a mouse and climb up a wire, and it's absolute trial and error as to where you end up, because where you end up is actually off screen when you pick your route. The boss fight in Golden Capital is extremely slow. It's an auto-scrolling level, and on its own it takes 3 minutes to beat, which means that if you lose your rings anywhere during the section, which is really easy to do by the way, there goes your score. This fight has a ton of cheap shots too, so that will happen a lot. Also, did I mention that it takes 3 minutes of slow auto-scrolling in a Sonic game? There is no way to speed this up either. You have to go at the boss's pace. There are some interesting boss gimmicks, but bosses in this game often take long to defeat. But most of that is just waiting for them to say it's okay to attack them again. And some of them have phases. Sonic also has these emerald abilities, which he gets when he collects Chaos Emeralds. I love the idea of this, but they range from situational to overpowered to downright useless. I don't really want to bring up Mario Wonder again, but that game has collectible badges that the player can earn that provide a passive buff to your character. This includes a slow fall, a grappling hook in the form of a vine, an extra jump for climbing up walls, extra powers at the start of a level. You get the idea. When in Sonic, in addition to your supersonic transformation, you get a random vine that shoots out of the ground, ability to climb up waterfalls, this really clunky bullet ability. The only one I really got use out of was the ability that lets you summon multiple versions of yourself to cheese bosses or clear screens. It really sucks to be late in the game and get an emerald power and you found out that it adds nothing special to your kit. It would be different if these were passive buffs, but no, you've got to awkwardly scroll through the ring of abilities to select it. Well, okay, certain abilities auto-select themselves when usable, but that just proves my point. These all should have been passive. I will say that there is a really good thing about this game. One thing that makes this game somewhat bearable. When you beat the game, you will unlock a character called Trip, and she is adorable. This is your end of video reminder to check out Project Teamy Sasha's Curse. It is a musical adventure game where the story is written by yours truly. You can follow us on Twitter, follow our YouTube channel, wishlist the game on Steam, notified of any news or demo releases that we may have. The game is very similar to Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, but with a musical twist. So if you like games like that, you're really gonna love this one. Or if you were just looking for another game like Captain Toad, you're really gonna love this one. I'm working with a team of talented devs, artists, and musicians, and we're working hard to bring you the best product we possibly can. So if anything you see looks interesting to you, then please check the game out. Catch you on the next one.